Hey guys, I'm Megan.
And I'm Stephanie, and we are
Barnbesties
with
farm fresh advice
for you. So we are here to impart the knowledge that we have learned over the years of building and running barns so that you guys don't have to have the problems and the misery and the mistakes that we made. Hope you enjoy our videos. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, right?
Right, and we hope to save you time and money on your new adventures.
Absolutely. So Megan, poop happens.
It sure does.
Doesn't matter what kind of animals you have. Poop happens.
You have to manage the manure. So I built a manure house.
Smart.
Welcome to my manure house.
This is where the magic happens.
Right here, this is what runs the barn. Check it out. So the tractor lives in the manure house, so does the manure spreader. It doesn't get rained on, it doesn't get snowed on.
Oh, that's
Also,
huge.
oh,
Up here
back
in
it
the
up, back it up. I want you to check this out. We have a plug. So some tractors,
Anything that's diesel is going to need to be plugged in when you're living in the north where it's cold.
check it out. You can plug it right in.
So that makes any diesel start a little easier. Absolutely. Good engine block heater. All right, so yeah, we live here in Wisconsin, and winter happens in Wisconsin. We get freezing rain, we get snow, we get at some point between end of January and February, we usually get sub-zero temperatures. So this is key. When you need to be able to
Take out the manure.
have a tractor that can function in that weather, have a manure spreader that can function in that weather. So you're bringing wet bedding, wet manure out of the barn, so you have to be able to have a place that it's not going to instantly freeze, because it's going to take a couple hours to clean your barn, and then you got to run that out and get it emptied out. And
And the people don't want to be rained on.
Or snowed
Also,
on.
you have the liability. So this used to be outside. It would rain, sleet, snow, and there'd be a ramp. And we have wheelbarrows, and you're pushing up the wheelbarrow. A lot of times
sliding
it
in
falls
the rain.
over,
Oh yeah.
falls back. Maybe someone falls and actually breaks some, knock on wood, or cement.
Knock on cement.
That's
knock on
never
wood.
happened. However, here, come on over here, cameraman. Check out.
So let's talk about the construction of this. You've got a lot of concrete in here, and can you talk about why you built it the way you did? You've got a really nice ledge that he's looking at right now. So that's where you're gonna run your manure cart, your wheelbarrow to. And it looks like you got a board there, or a lip, where they can
We have a lip, and then there's a board so the wheelbarrow doesn't roll off the side into the manure spreader. The other big thing is you want to make sure you park the manure spreader further under the shelf. So cameraman, kind of roll it down here, so that way they can see. If you don't put the spreader under, you need to clean this out. I think once a week. Yep. And so make sure you park it under. You'll also see we have stuff. So this can be extra storage. We put our extra hoses,
extra hoses,
trash bins. However, I actually don't like this. So be careful when you build big. You always want to build big. However, when you build big, you turn into a collector, because the other thing about this barn with the cement, the way it is let's say the manure spreader doesn't work any time of year, or the tractor needs to be repaired. You can just pull this forward, and your staff that's cleaning stalls can just dump the manure over the side. And so then when you're ready to take it out, you just come in with a bobcat and you can just scrape it out. So this is a dual purpose.
You've got concrete back here that you can push a bucket against. You're not going against the metal siding. You're going against concrete. This is very similar to like a feed bunker at a cattle dairy or whatever, cow barn.
Yep.
So you can run a bucket up and kind of scrape up against it without damaging what would be in a normal barn. Your siding would go all the way to the ground. So that's really smart.
Yeah, and then the other thing we did is you can look through the tin, like, so the tin,
You've got some plastic, just clear,
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but
transparent, translucent.
yeah.
So
So the
light some
sun
light in.
can light it up, but right now we do have the lights on. Typically the lights aren't on unless it's dark out.
Well, wintertime, we got such short sunlight, you really do need to have extra lighting.
Yep, and
But you
I
need
wanted to
electricity
let you
anyway.
know, there is a switch at both ends. So if you're walking in the barn from that end, or you're the stall cleaner, there is a light at both sides. So make sure you have switches on both sides. Should we go up above and show them what it looks like up
Let's show them
above?
what it looks like from up in the barn. Hey everybody,
Hey!
here we are on the inside of Megan's barn at the manure door, because poo happens.
Who happens?
Should we show them how it works?
We should show you.
So tell me first about this door. This is a really nice, I guess you call it an overhead door,
It's
but
a roll-up
I can
door.
already tell it's somewhat insulated here.
Yep, it's slightly insulated.
It rolls up.
It rolls
It's
up.
not one of those ones that goes like a regular garage door.
No.
It just looks like it rolls up.
And it's worked really well. Some of the other roll-up doors don't.
Is it really heavy?
Nope.
Can I
really-
try it?
Yeah, go
Can I
for
do
it.
the one? Okay, sorry, this is gonna be a little loud, y'all. Oh yeah,
It's very easy.
look at that one hand.
Easy peasy.
Nice.
You
Yeah,
just
that's
want to
really
make
easy.
sure it goes all the way up. A couple of things I want to tell you about. So we have this for people who are short. Some people can't reach it or it gets locked. See that? And then pull it. And so we'll pull it down. And I want to show you we have a little latch here. So this is great in
Yeah.
the summer.
Pull it up and let's show them the latch.
Yep.
So you got a latch here, so the door, you get what, about a
Airflow.
foot? You get about a foot of airflow?
In the summertime because it gets quite hot. So then in the winter, when we don't want airflow,
You take that off.
take it off. And it goes, and then you gotta stomp it down.
Yeah,
There
that
we
makes a
go.
lot of sense. Especially in the wintertime when it's so cold.
Yep, any little crap. So
We're making a lot of noise, we apologize.
here we are. The biggest thing, which knock on wood, has never happened, and I tell everyone, the doors have to be closed. So you come in, grab your utensil, or you dump your wheelbarrow. You must close this door. So
You
this
don't want a
is-
horse getting in
This
here.
is a big deal. So come on in. Here's our light. Our light for our stall cleaners are here, so you can turn it on.
Wait, slow down. He didn't get a chance to see that. Can you show him again? So you've got a space for manure forks, various manure forks, a couple of different types of shovels, and then this is your light switch here. So everything is out of the barn. Anything that's going to smell and attract flies is in the area where the flies are and not in the barn. Now, of course, in your grooming areas, you have other forks and things, but this is where your staff for cleaning.
All
All
it's
their
all here.
utensils.
So we have a broom, and it has a peg.
Let me
I'm a-
scoot out of the way.
I'm a little OCD, so I love things to have their place. So there's multiple forks in
When
case.
things don't have their place, things get lost.
Exactly. We don't want them lost.
Things get lost.
And then there's the shovel.
Now me, this is how I do my shovels.
Okay.
I turn that part there.
Inward.
Because if this was metal, and I mean, we're not in a area where someone's gonna walk by, you could catch a leg on that.
Yeah.
So I always turn them that way.
That's a good idea.
I would do that this way too, because that one is metal.
I'm just grateful that
But
they
you're not
did-
gonna have anybody with a horse going through here, but you never know.
You
Everybody's
never,
side is
you
gonna be
never
different.
know. I'm just grateful that they're put back.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times I find them like this, or the other thing in my
Or not here.
or not here. Yeah, they walk off. The other thing that's really important to me is that this is the stall cleaning staff's utensils, and then they don't grab
From other
forks
areas.
from other areas, because there is
Like your tack
probably
areas,
30 forks around this barn.
You need to have those because
Yeah.
they break.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so this is where the stall cleaner is going to bring a wheelbarrow up to. We talked about, I'm going to put my foot on it. This is a nice board. So you kind of can brace your wheelbarrow against this and dump right into the manure spreader. And cameraman, if you can get a look, you can see how easy this is to, you're right into the base body of the manure spreader where everything needs to go. So pretty good.
And then the other things we have in our barn is to scare the birds away. We also put up sometimes
Fly catching.
fly catching stuff,
Especially in
because
here.
in the summer they come. We also have an owl to prevent the birds from coming
You have
in.
2 owls, I see.
Yeah.
So how often how often does this get full, or how often, let's say you don't fill it all that often, How much do you let this get in here before you take it and put it out in the field or wherever it needs to go?
That's a super question. So it's different for the different types of years, right? So,
Weather dependent, you mean?
yeah.
Okay.
So in the summertime, we will leave it until it gets full. I typically don't like to fill it over the ledge
The side
because
walls?
if you have ever emptied where a manure spreader, like where it's
Is
full,
overfull?
you have to shovel it.
Yeah.
So if you break this, you're gonna have to shovel the manure again. And
Yeah.
so I don't like to do it too full.
Is there ever a time where you're like, it's not full, but it needs to go out
Yeah,
for certain reasons?
in the
Let's say
winter.
In the winter?
Yeah.
So in the winter, especially in the north when things are freezing, cameraman, if you can look down at the manure spreader, you guys see that it's called an apron, but it's the chain. They call that the apron, and that actually is driven by the PTO on the tractor. But when you put wet manure on that and it's freezing cold temperatures, it
It'll
freezes tight. And what'll happen because the PTO is really powerful, it'll break that apron or that chain. So that's a daily thing in the winter in really freezing cold weather, because you can actually see, cameraman, if you look at the back end of this, how dark that bedding at the very back is. That's wet. That's wet bedding. So if it was freezing cold, that could potentially ice up, cause that part of the chain to freeze to the actual metal. We all know how cold metal is. Y'all were taught as children, don't put your tongue on a freezing cold piece of metal, right? It's the same concept. So in the wintertime, you do this daily.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Every day there's
Because
manure
we're
put
in
in
the
there.
frozen.
It needs to go up. In the summertime, we're more lax. Again, we don't fill it too full. The other thing I want to tell people about is check out the beaters.
Yeah.
So, what ends up happening, horse hair, you can see the horse hair is starting to collect.
Or twine. How about twine?
Hopefully twine never gets in here because that means there's twine in your
You never
stall.
want twine in there because that'll get into the bearings.
But the biggest thing is, yeah, it'll wrap around there and then one day the whole thing will cease and it'll break your equipment. So you want to make sure that you're greasing it, you're cutting the hair off, and every once in a while you're oiling the chain. I do it like once or twice a year.
Yeah. Yep.
And this manure spreader is actually for cows. So you could keep liquids in it, but we dismantled all that.
Repurposed it?
We did repurpose it. The manure spreaders for horses were actually too small for my facility. And then we should also talk about PTO versus ground driven.
Yeah, so depending on your needs, if you have a really large barn, such as what Megan has, you've got a lot of stalls, a lot of horses that are in stalls, and you're potentially putting a lot of manure out every day, you're going to need something that's going to be this size. You're going to want to talk to your implement dealer on the size of bushels that you need. But you're also going to need a tractor. Now, we've shown you guys Megan's tractor here. This piece of equipment, this manure spreader, is hooked up through what's called a PTO. And there's two sizes of PTOs depending on the size of the tractor. The most common for this size of tractor you're going to get is a 540 PTO, and that'll run a lot of all the equipment you're going to need unless you are doing heavy duty, massive farming out in the fields, which maybe you're doing. Maybe you're doing that and you have a completely different setup. But if you're a small horse person, or a horse person with a small herd, maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Maybe let's say you got 2, 3, 4 horses. You can get a what's called a ground driven manure spreader. So as you're driving along, you engage it, and just the force of you going along the ground will create the drive to empty the manure spreader. Those are going to be substantially smaller. Those are going to be something that if you got 6 horses, you might have to empty that out two times a day. They're going to be much smaller. Think like garden tractor smaller, much smaller. But it's a much less expensive investment than a really large piece of, 2 really large pieces of equipment here.
Which is why I built the manure house, because this was my biggest investment on the farm.
Yeah, manure handling is huge. So there are a lot of places where you can get the ground drive. Like I said, you can haul them. Some people will haul them with a UTV or an ATV or a larger garden tractor, and all it is you're just engaging a lever, and the force of you driving down the field or wherever you're dumping actually causes the manure to go out the back end. So for a smaller farm, those are much easier, less expensive investment. But for somebody who's running a larger operation, 8 or more horses, I would say, you need some kind of manure spreader. And you can get smaller than this. But as Megan said, for the amount of horses that she has, she needed this very large. When the first barn I managed, our manure spreader was probably a third less big, definitely shorter, probably about as wide, but definitely considerably shorter. And then we did not have the beaters. I think back in the day it had the beaters on it, but it was such an old recycled manure spreader. We actually ran a ramp up the back and dumped straight in here like this.
How did it empty? Like, did you stockpile it, or did you take it out to the field?
You took it out to the field, but it only had the chain, the apron on it.
Oh, and it didn't. Did it spread evenly?
Well, you had to kind of get cranking.
Oh,
you had to go pretty quick.
Oh, okay, so I'm the opposite. So with this, we go low gear and 2
and high RPMs.
2, yeah, and there's like a little on the tractor. It says
540
PTO, and so we take it out, spread it in the field. When the crops aren't on the field, we take it out. However, right now the crops are out, they're growing, they haven't harvested yet, so we stockpile it.
Which is another really great thing to do, because you can, by stockpiling, it heats up, it ferments, it starts to break down, so it actually gets to be more valuable in the field. So there's a lot of options. You just need to evaluate how much you need for how many animals you have, and determine whether or not you're going to grow. If you're going to grow, maybe you make the investment for a larger setup immediately, but maybe you're not going to grow your size of your barn for 5 or 6 years, and just start small. And when you need to size up, there's always somebody looking to invest in some used equipment. That's usually never a problem. So I think that's pretty good.
I think it's great.
Thanks guys so much. We really appreciate you watching this. Let us know what questions you might have. We can answer. We've definitely been around the farm block for a long time, and hopefully can help you guys out. So have a good day, and we'll see you guys on our next video. Bye everybody.
See you next time.